Hello everybody, today we're going to be going over when I expect you to see your first snowfall. This is my first edition of this forecast, and I will be updating all of these types of forecasts that I do, including my first frost forecast as well as my fall foliage forecast. I'll be updating them at least one or two more times, most likely synchronized with when I update my fall and winter forecasts as well, which also you can go check out. I'll put an iCard at the top right hand corner if you want to check out all of those four videos that I just mentioned. So here's my first snowfall forecast. We're going to be going over that in today's video. Now, here is the average first snowfall and when you expect to see it, and then we're going to be going over whether I expect it to be earlier or later than when you typically will see your first snowfall. So we're going to go over what each of these individual little colors mean. I'm getting this from NOAA data, so I just plotted it on my own map here that I handcrafted. So I hope you guys do enjoy the graphics, and let's get right into the video. So in this kind of pinkish region, which you kind of see three little outlined areas, those are highest elevation areas in parts of Wyoming, Montana, and also parts of Colorado. That's where you expect your first snowfall to be. October 1st or earlier, sometime in September or even early August is when you expect that first snowfall to be. So very, very early. These are really high elevation regions, mountain tops, and of course individual mountain tops may have earlier snowfall than this, but I can't really individually plot those. So I'm going off generally when you do see your first snowfall. Now, here in this kind of grayish region, which you kind of see a lot of little areas throughout parts of the Sierras, also into northeast Nevada, parts of Oregon, Washington, dotted throughout the northern plains, a larger area around the Rockies, and then also for parts of Minnesota, Wyoming, Wisconsin, into parts of the northern UP of Michigan, and then also into parts of upstate New York, Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine. They're seeing your average for snowfall between October 1st and 31st for many of these regions. You see, again, most of the areas surrounding the Rockies there see your average first snowfall around October 1st to 31st, and then you just see some highly elevated regions dotted across the country where you see your average first snowfall between October 1st and October 31st. Now, in this dark blue region, this is where you expect to see your first snowfall sometime between November 1st and November 15th, and this includes the rest of the Sierra Mountains in California, as well as a mountain chain there in Oregon, and also Northern California, parts of Northeast Nevada, where you have some kind of rolling hills, and as well as some mountaintops throughout that region. It's a very hilly region, and also for parts of the Northern Plains, the areas surrounding the rest of the Rockies, and then also, again, the Northern Plains, central part of the country, throughout the northern Great Lakes, and then also into parts of the Appalachian Mountains, especially the northern part of the mountain chain as well. We also see that for parts of the interior Northeast, you see your average first snowfall before November 15th, so sometime between November 1st and November 15th throughout that region. Now, in this kind of lighter blue shade here, this is where you expect your first snowfall to occur between November 16th and November 30th throughout this region. And this includes parts all the way kind of everywhere west of the Rockies, especially for the interior northeast or the interior northwest. And you start to see that kind of move further south into parts of Arizona and New Mexico. And then it curves back up as you start to get into the central plains, moving throughout Kansas, Nebraska, Iowa. And then for the lower Great Lakes, you start to see that November 16th to 30th time frame move in. And then also throughout the rest of the Appalachian Mountain chain, for the most part, you start to see your average first snowfall between November 16th and 30th, and then November 30th, and then also for parts of the northern New England region, and then also for parts of the interior Northeast, you see the rest of that region get filled in. Now, in this lighter blue region, we see from December 1st to 15th, we start to see your first snowfall, so that includes parts of Washington State into Oregon, northernmost California, also into parts of interior Nevada, northern Nevada, as well as parts of Utah, Arizona, New Mexico, into the panhandle of Texas and Oklahoma, throughout Kansas, Missouri, Illinois, Indiana, also for parts of Kentucky, Ohio, West Virginia, and then moving throughout parts of western North Carolina and Virginia, and then into parts of Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and parts of the coastal southern New England region. That's when you expect your first snowfall to be between December 1st and 15th throughout that region. Now, Here in this lighter blue shade, this lightest blue shade, this is where you expect your first snowfall to be between December 16th and December 30th, and that is for areas kind of south of the region, just to its north. You see that for parts of southern Arizona, southern New Mexico, parts of northwest Texas, into parts of northern Oklahoma, northern Arkansas, throughout Missouri, Illinois, Indiana, the Tennessee Valley, and then throughout parts of the Mid-Atlantic. You also see that for some mountains in Southern California, and also also central and central Southern California as well. Now, here in this white shade, this is where you expect it to be after December 31st, and this is throughout much of northern and western Texas, also for parts of much of Oklahoma, into much of Arkansas, northern parts of Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, South Carolina, also for much of Tennessee and much of eastern North Carolina there. That's where you expect after December 31st to see your first snowfall. And then here in this green shade, which includes much of the state of California, much of southern Nevada, into southwestern Arizona, also for much of the deep south, excluding parts of southern Texas, southern Louisiana, and much of Florida, except for those regions, that's where you expect a rare snowfall. So not every year will you see snowfall, but every once in a while, every year or two, or every few years, you could see a rare snowfall, and it's in a very specific scenario. So it's not it's not an ongoing thing. You usually see it once or twice per winter, if you do see it that winter at all. So it's a very rare occurrence throughout this region, but it is still very, very possible. Now, in this yellow shade, this is where it's very, very rare to see snowfall, or you basically never see snowfall. You have one or two very rare events where you did see snowfall. Other than that, you really don't see snowfall at all. This includes parts of extreme southern Texas, southeast Louisiana, much of Florida except for the Panhandle, as well as parts of southwestern Arizona and into southwestern California there, as well as a little area in north central California. That's where you expect little to no snowfall all year, on average, for most of the winter. Now, here is my fall forecast, and again, the iCard was at the beginning of the video. It would also be in the description of the video if you do want to go check that out. Here's my fall forecast in terms of your temperatures, and you do see that we had colder than normal temperatures for the southeast. And again, if you do want to check it out, it was my fall forecast, my first preliminary fall forecast for the year 2020. So here, again, here's the temperature map for the southeast. It was much colder than normal, and then for parts of the northern plains in the western United States, warmer than normal. So that would typically mean later than normal for snowfall. So here is my winter forecast, which again, you can go check that out at my first preliminary winter forecast. Again, that will be in the description, and it was at it was on the iCard at the beginning of the video. You can see over the northern plains and much of the northern United States, for the most part, I expect colder than normal conditions, and for the southern United States, I expect warmer than normal conditions on average for those regions. Now, here is my first snowfall dates. Now, I expect later than normal snowfall for the southwest, and that's just mainly because it is going to be warmer than normal, especially for the winter time, which is when most of the southwest will get their snowfall, especially in those lower lying areas where you rarely will see snowfall, or it'll be later on in December. That's when you should see your first snowfall. So if it is going to be warmer than normal, you might just see in January, February, throughout for this year. So this would be by a matter of about 1 to about 10 days later than your normal. Now, here's where I'm expecting it to be earlier than normal, and that's actually for parts of the northeastern United States, as well as the Great Lakes and the Ohio Valley and the Mid-Atlantic. As you start to get into December and November, I really think it's going to start to get cooler for this region, and that's really when you expect to see your snowfall, your first snowfall for these regions, and that will most likely mean that you could see a snowfall earlier than what is typical. It's also been the trend over the past few years where you've seen a snowfall earlier on in November or October for these regions, so you have seen a trend where you start to get snowfall earlier and earlier. So I just do think that it is going to continue for this winter, and that that trend will definitely continue, and that you will see earlier than normal snowfall for snowfall. So that is going to wrap it up for today's video. Please consider leaving a like and subscribing and turning on notifications. I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.